Our adventure starts at Boleskine house. Of course, the thing burned down again recently, so we are sneaking a peek at the construction work, which is mainly happening on the roof of the building. We are channeling Crowley and pulling cards for this strange house in Scotland. Stay tuned for this and everything else we did. In case you don't know me, hi, I'm Anna, a professional tarot reader from Amsterdam. I make videos about tarot and things related. I am no Thelemite by any means. I read the cards according to my own philosophy. I take from different cartomancy traditions, but discover, blend, and translate them in my own way. If you are interested in the tarot at all, consider checking out my other videos. I have plenty of information, thoughts, contemplations, musings on the Smith-Waite deck, Tarot de Marseille, more recent creations that I get a lot of meaning out of, and of course I also discuss the Thoth deck. So I was saying, here is everything we did, me and my partner. Well, correction, here is everything I filmed, but here we go. This is across the road from Boleskine House, which was, of course, Aleister Crowley's Scottish residence, where he allegedly summoned some darker spirits and never closed those spiritual gates. Crowley made the Thoth deck with artist Lady Frida Harris, and it became a very powerful tarot indeed, one I enjoy using a lot. However controversial, I love reading Book of Thoth. Always recommend. I do see why Crowley chose this location, as it is very secluded, which apparently was something he was looking for. Even to this day, it's hard to get a good look, and the shots of the house actually still feel like I'm somehow intruding on someone's privacy. So sorry to the current owner of the house, but you must have known what you got yourself into. Some fun facts, and I want to thank the viewers of the first upload for this rectification, because I did confuse, strangely enough, even though I loved the band. So obviously it was Jimmy Page who owned Boleskine House at some point. To the people who love Led Zeppelin, they know they've always been an occult band with an occult interest. It definitely wasn't a surprise that one of them at some point owned the house. It must have been pretty cool, I'm sure. It still is pretty cool. I actually don't know who owns the house at the moment, but yeah, they are taking care of it and making sure it doesn't fall apart. On the way here, my partner and I listened to a podcast about Boleskine House, and the one thing I hadn't heard before was this quirky anecdote. Rumors of the Loch Ness monster apparently only started after Aleister Crowley had moved into that house. In case you don't know, the large body of water we are seeing in these clips is Loch Ness. So, Nessie, you may be one of the spirits our favorite occultist people love to hate has summoned, manifested in physical form. Of course, I brought a Crowley Harris deck, channeled a bit of Crowley, and pulled for the current construction of the house. The Five of Swords. Lord of Defeat. This card is rather on the negative side, as you can tell. We are talking communication, spirit, that is the sword suit element of air, makes me think of the doors he has left open and never was able to close. Possibly he experienced this as a mistake. The rose petals are all scattered in this card, alluding to a wish to leave the house in crumbles, rather than having it restored over and over again, because this baby burned down more than once. I did a little extra thing because I was curious, and I pulled a card from the deck of cards that I've made, magical guidance cards. Well, I pulled the Destroy card, so we got Defeat and Destroy. Who here has the talent to write a rock and roll song about Boleskine House with those two words in it? Make it catchy. Anyway, this does confirm, to us at least, that whatever energy still lingers around this place is not happy with the rebuild, right? Of course, this pulling cards in this way can be seen as more of a game, but maybe believe in it too. I, of course, urge everyone to leave this area alone, leave this place alone, let the owner do their thing. But it was very interesting to see such strong cards coming up for this particular part of the country. So we traveled in a self-converted camper van, and stealth mode is something that we were extremely excited about doing right. So we mostly slept in beautiful nature spots, although we settled on slightly more urban spots as well a few times, just to be close to what we wanted to visit the next day. And we were relieved to have been recently gifted two very thick woolen blankets, which we used every night on the bed. That made it so cozy to sleep in the van. We also borrowed a gas heater, but that never got used during this week. It just wasn't as cold as we were told it was going to be. This was end of February. However, we expect that in the very, very north of Scotland, we might have needed it. Anyway, I loved that we had a lot of sunshine, because when on holiday, I feel I need a bit of sunny weather to really enjoy myself, which is crazy, of course, because I can't control the weather. I'm just sharing here. We, of course, got proper soaked a couple of times too, but this really is more bearable, to me at least, when, you can feel the rainbow forming, if you know what I mean. Visiting a place with the freedom of a van is a wonderful experience. It doesn't fully feel like camping, which truly I've never really done, yet having an actual cup of coffee feels like a welcome luxury. Also, we adore these cups. We traveled to Inverness, Isle of Skye, and then, oh no, the surprise inland ferry towards Glenfinnan viaduct. I did not see this coming. First of all, we were not at all prepared to take a ferry when we navigated towards that place. Second of all, I have never in my life ever been that sick. The winds were so strong, it was a storm. The boat never stopped moving heavily. The people who stood on the deck, they got soaked top to bottom by the waves hitting the boat, and they had to basically run inside to even get to safety. And the crossing lasted 30 minutes, so not very long, but for all of those 30 minutes, I was thrown up in a bag. So that wasn't fun. Safe to say, my boyfriend took the wheel for the rest of the day so I could recuperate. Fun fact also, I had pulled cards for our short ferry trip right before it left the shore, and I pulled the Tower and the Seven of Wands. So we knew this trip was going to be a challenge, but wow, the Tower never hit me that hard physically, okay? Anyway, then right before the hike around Glenfinnan Viaduct, the Ten of Swords popped up. And this deck, Crow's Magic Tarot, has keywords black and clouded. So, I mean, honestly, it was pouring rain. So obviously, we really, really got incredibly soaked again. And the tarot is just laughing at me at this point. It didn't matter because I had my heart set on walking around the grounds of this charming structure. I do have a feeling it must have a sad story though. At some point, the Highland landowners found that having sheep or industrial activity on their land was much more profitable than having people on their land, which means that the populations of whole entire villages were removed from the land and their houses got destroyed. Some people say that Glenfinnan Viaduct and the railway as a whole was seen as a sign of hope, which of course I prefer to believe is true. But by the time it was finished, the railway really had changed the face of the Western world at the time. And the workers used to be farmers and were now introduced to a new world. That to me is very bittersweet and brings up uneasy nostalgia. Also, let's not gloss over the fact, more nostalgia, that I grew up reading the legendary Harry Potter books as they came out, because yes, I am that old. And I was happy to find out right before visiting these grounds, actually, that this is the viaduct that they use for the Hogwarts Express in the movies. Glenfinnan Viaduct and the Jacobite steam train, all round fuzzy feelings for me. Last time when we visited Edinburgh for a couple of days, we traveled to Rosslyn Chapel, and we loved it so much that we decided to come back. So we didn't end up going in this time, but we did admire it from the outside because it's just so pretty, and we went to check out the castle ruins a little further along the road. I couldn't resist, though, getting this booklet that explains the history and background of the Green Man, since it's all around there, and it sounds very interesting to me. I've yet to read it. Anyway, as you can see, it got dark and it was time to leave for our camping spot, but we returned the next day so we could take the very enjoyable walk to the gunpowder factory ruins a little further along town. And honestly, Rosslyn is such a lovely place, and it shows the balance that I love to have in the trips that I take. Plenty of greenery, so, trees, mountains, but also a lot of cultural places, beautiful architecture. I love that. Or ruins with a rich history. And this is the place that I finally found my hagstone. Yes, folks, for some reason I knew I was going to find one during this trip. I wanted a Scottish hagstone, and here it is. Gunpowder Mill gave it to me, so thank you. Lastly, you are seeing footage from a huge castle ruin in the middle of a large field. Please comment the name if you recognize it, because I can't seem to find it in my notes. It was beautiful, though. And we actually did a lot more stuff. We hiked up around a mountain just to be faced with a rather impressive, I must say, curtain of rain once we reached the top. But it was still, a lot of fun. We visited the so-called fairy pools, which is a lot of different waterfalls making fairy-like, little pools in the stones. Gorgeous. We went to a huge cave. I forgot the name again, but we were the only people there because the tides were actually coming in, and it's known to be dangerous at that time because the cave floods. And it was really beautiful, though, walking on those huge, black, smooth beach rocks and just exploring the area without getting ourselves in mortal danger. Speaking of mortal danger, we are both, my partner and I, still very much considered beginner drivers. And we brought a van, not a big one, but still, much bigger than, a car, to the UK, where, of course, they drive on the left side of the road. So it took a bit of getting used to, but honestly, it is not a big deal. It's not that big of a change. It was okay. It didn't feel like we were risking our lives to visit this place, at least. Scotland, you were so good to us. We love you. We are actually already sort of planning our next trip there, and we just agreed that, in the 11-year relationship that we have so far, this was the best holiday that we took together. So, we're getting better at it, so it seems. And, next time we definitely want to do 2 weeks instead of 1, so we have plenty of time to do NC 500, for instance, a North Coast route through the beautiful landscapes. We got a little taste of that already this time, and I think we're ready for more. I think this was my perfect holiday. As I said, plenty of sun, gorgeous nature, occult stuff. Honestly, Rosslyn Chapel must see for people who are into any of this occult spirituality things and history, an aspect of freedom that only a van can provide. Now I know, now I know. And yeah, as I said, a perfect blend between nature and cultural things, old buildings or ruins or places with interesting history. So however niche it may be, just like, for instance, Boleskine House, we loved it, of course. Actually, it's so fun to visit those specific places or things and go see them with this huge expectation. And I mean, just even catching a little glimpse of Boleskine House, I pulled cards there. That was worth the experience. Speaking of niche things, we even accidentally stumbled into a pub on the last night that we had that had an Angelic Upstarts EP hung up in the entrance. Not actually sure if the band ever set foot in this pub, but here you can see a little piece of text that explains one of their songs that they based on this very pub, and it ended badly. Very niche, but so cool to us since we love punk rock music too. So, I mean, thank you all for listening. Please let us know what we cannot leave out of our itinerary the next time we visit beautiful, rugged, friendly, unexpected, and overall absolutely charming Scotland. Or actually, perhaps we should never go back because it will never be this good. Leave a comment if you feel compelled to do so. See you next time for more tarot-related videos. Bye.